Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching Smart 24 TV. It's your boy Anthony Sebali, and I am your host. This is Financial Markets, where we get to peep into the different global, regional, and domestic markets here in Uganda. And of course, we give you the opportunities as they come and unfold in your sitting room. And I hope you're having a wonderful morning. It's a Monday, and I hope we are getting started on a new note. It's a new week, the third week of the year 2023. I hope you are getting ahead on your resolutions for the year 2023, and especially in as far as investment is concerned. And of course, I promise I'll give you the best and the latest on what the opportunities are in the markets, and get you, of course, up to speed on what's happening in the global financial markets. Now, the show is proudly brought to you by Altex East Africa. If you're not a trader at Altex East Africa, please get registered right now. To do that, you simply need to dial star 292 hash. Now, that's not the only thing you can do when you dial star 292 hash. You can also be able to buy treasury bonds and sell them at the biggest interest rates in East Africa. And this comes, of course, at the convenience of your phone and using your mobile money wallet. You can get money off of Altex to your mobile money, or from mobile money to Altex. And this is now made so easy under the Zabu initiative, where they're saying now they want to bring the markets to you, the farmer to you, the shopkeeper to you, the banker, the doctor, wherever you are, in your office right there, and you start your investment journey. For starters, treasury bonds are transferable debts, or treasury bills are long-term, rather short-term transferable debts to government issued through the central bank. In other words, the Bank of Uganda, on behalf of government, is able to borrow money from the public in order to help government finance its different activities. And through these investments, you can earn an interest. This interest is annual, especially now we are talking about the long-term instruments, the treasury bonds. It is an annual interest. In other words, you can get the whole lump sum and get the interest on every year. But it's divided into two, and that is for the first 6 months, you get the first quarter of the first half of the interest, and in the next 6 months, you get the other half of the annual interest on that treasury bond. The treasury bonds are issued by Bank of Uganda, like I mentioned, through what we call an auction on the primary market. And the primary market, of course, comes with competition, because here you have competitive bidders and non-competitive bidders. The competitive bidders coming at over 100 billion plus investments, and the non-competitive coming below 100 billion, but also above 100,000. Each unit is 100,000. That's literally how it works. But Altex bypasses all those mechanisms of transfer of money and auctions, and gets you on the secondary market, where now you can simply dial a simple number, star 292 hash, and then straight away get to buy or get to sell at the best interest rates. Altex East Africa, doing something new. Now, of course, today being a Monday, we are looking into Friday tradings, and of course the markets are always closed on Saturday and Sunday, and they do reopen on Monday morning. The US stock market is already open, and stuff is going on at the United States Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, and the like. Also here on the Uganda Stock Exchange, business is moving. People are buying shares. People are buying and selling shares. Umeme is doing quite well. We are going to just see a little bit of what Umeme did last week on Friday, but business is moving. I just want to alert you, so you know that from this show you definitely go and get to make your investments. Now, let's get to start with the Uganda Securities Exchange. Of course, home is the best, east or west, and the Uganda Securities Exchange on Friday had a little much better trading than Thursday. looking at, for example, the participants here in the day's trading, there were 3 companies that actually did participate in trading, with Wumeme recording the biggest volume. Wumeme traded over 1 million shares, about 1.47 million shares, 1.43 million shares on the Uganda Stock Exchange, followed by Stanbic Bank Uganda, who traded about 214,184 shares, and the MTN Uganda company about 17,354 shares that were traded on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, in the day's trading, still Wumeme, the biggest mover, came out on top of the gainers there on the Uganda Securities Exchange, appreciating by 7.14% to 300.0 shillings. There you are, my friend. I warned you about this last week. I bet we talked about this last week, and I told you by the time we get into February, we are not even halfway January, we're going to have Wumeme stock going up to over 500 shillings. Now we are counting 300 shillings per share, and it's going up. Trust me, it's not coming down. Remember, the company announced that they will be exiting Uganda in 2025 on the 30th of March. Ever since that announcement was made in December, the stock has been going up, and it's evident that it must have to go up. There's no other option, because there is value coming to the shareholders' table anytime, sooner or later. So are you going to be part of that value, or you're going to keep on watching from the sides? I don't know. It's up to you. But well, Wumeme did great on Friday with a gain of over 7.14%, from 280 shillings to 300 Ugandan shillings. Let's get to look at the history of Wumeme and get to appreciate how the stock of Wumeme has actually moved the Ugandan market here. Now, Uganda, Wumeme was first incorporated in Uganda in the 6th of May 2004, and later it converted into a public company in the year 2012 on the 28th of June. Later that year, on the 30th of November 2012, the company got listed on Uganda's principal stock exchange, the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, Wumeme is a subsidiary of Wumeme Holdings, the bigger company, which itself is a subsidiary of Actis Infrastructure, which is an investment fund that has management under the Actis, which is from Madagascar. Now, when you look at the company, it got to take over the supply and distribution of electricity from the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited for a period of over 20 years, which is expiring, of course, in 2025. And this commenced on the 1st of March 2005, and it's expiring in 2025. Now, currently, Wumeme has the 8th most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange in terms of market capitalization, with a total of over 487 billion Ugandan shillings that is floated currently on the Uganda Stock Exchange. And this represents about 2.32% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market there. Now, the company went up by 20 shillings from 280 shillings on the Friday tradings up to over 300.0 shillings, which was a 7.14% increase in price. Now, looking way back, starting 2022, the company began 2022 with about 195 Ugandan shillings per share, according to the graph here, between 185 and 195, somewhere between there. And quickly, the company gained value in 2022 in the month of May and picked up to over 280 shillings. But later, it formed a kind of flat line, and then later went down again in the month of July to prices as low as 180 again in the month of July. And in September, it went up to 200 shillings where it remained stagnant for quite some time until the end of the year 2022. Now, in December, immediately the company's stock, immediately the company released a public notice to their shareholders that they will be exiting Uganda because they will not be renewing their contract. The stocks of this company went up straight away to over 270. You're seeing that this is in the month, just in the month of January, December and January, we've been up to 250, we've gone to 275, and now to up to 300 Ugandan shillings. Yesterday alone, rather on Friday, where the last trading happened, we had 1.43 million, approximately 1.43 million shares that were traded on Wumeme, ending with over 428 million Ugandan shillings in turnover. Now, that's a huge amount of money. 400 million in a single day on the Uganda Stock Exchange. I mean, we know our exchange. We know how far we've come. We know how far sometimes we can go. But you're looking at a company trading over 400 million on an exchange that rarely sees 100 million a day, on average. When you look at the average trading price, trading turnovers, it's quite lower than that. So you're seeing that Wumeme actually is leading to a great movement in the Uganda Stock Exchange. In the shares outstanding, they currently have over 1.62 billion shares out there amongst their shareholders, with a value of over 487 billion Ugandan shillings as market capitalization. Now, in terms of 4 weeks, they have accrued about 42.9%, and in 3 months, this is very interesting. In 3 months, shareholders have had a value of over 50% added to every single share they hold. In other words, if you had 300 million in 2022, around the month of October, around 13th of October, you right now have over about 450 million, because you have 50% more value. Now that's growth. That is what every shareholder is looking for. And this is exactly what I usually tell you, my dear viewers, that you don't have to look at the stock as something that's going to give you value today. You must be looking in the long-term perspective, because these shareholders were patient. The company's stock was going down, but they remained firm. They remained in there, they hung in there, and now they're reaping big on the stock market. That's exactly how it works for any company or for any business that is involved in the stock trading. Now, we have over about, in the last 3 months, about 6.16 billion Ugandan shillings. In 3 months, that's what we're talking about. In 3 months, the company is transacting 6.16 billion Ugandan shillings. And this currently looks at a total volume of over 27.5 million shares that have been traded or transacted on the exchange. Currently, the company is the second most traded on in the last 3 months, and also it's the best performer on the Uganda Securities Exchange in year-to-date performance, because it has accrued about 43% of value in the last the last 2 weeks, which is their year-to-date performance. That's Wumeme for you, and I hope definitely you get to check them out this week before prices go to hit 600 shillings. Who knows, even 700, and before you know it, we can no longer afford to buy this stock. Away from Wumeme, we did have as well Equity Group Holdings, or Equity Bank, famously known as Equity Bank, appreciate by about 1.17% to 1,370, and Centum added about a value of 0.91% to close at 254.83 shillings. On the bottom losers side, East African Breweries Limited lost most value with over 0.47%. That was shed off for the day's trading and closed at 5,105.56 Ugandan shillings, and KCB at over 0.29%, closing at 1,159.4 shillings. and Jubilee Holdings as well losing about 0.28%, down to 5,939.12 Ugandan shillings. Kenya Airways lost over 0.04% and down to 114.02 Ugandan shillings per share, and Nation Media Group at over 474.83 Ugandan shillings, lost over 0.03%. And my friends, those are the biggest gainers and the losers on the market on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, MTN, rather, Umeme wasn't the only company that did trade on the exchange on Friday. Stanbic as well had over 214,000 shares that were transacted on the company. Now, this company we are talking about got listed on the 25th of January 2007, and currently it has about 1.07 trillion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization, with over about 51.2 billion shares that are currently floated on the exchange. It's currently the 5th most valuable in terms of market capitalization on the Uganda Securities Exchange. The day ended with no change in price at exactly 21.0 shillings per share. And currently, when you look at Umeme's stock in year-to-date performance, they haven't actually added much of value there. But in 1 week, they have gained about 4.79%. In 4 weeks, however, they have lost still 8.7% of their value. Now, the company closed the day at 21.0 Ugandan shillings per share. Currently, Stanbic Bank is maintaining the #1 position amongst the biggest traders of the the last 3 months. And this is at over 61.6 million shares that have been traded in the past 3 months alone. And currently these shares are valued at over 1.29 billion Ugandan shillings in just 3 months. Well, Stanbic Bank is one of those dedicated dividend issuers, because last year they did issue 100 billion worth of dividends to their shareholders who had not seen any dividends in the last 2 years. Not because Stanbic didn't want to give them dividends, but it was a restriction by the Bank of Uganda for all banks or financial institutions to reserve their capital and their profits to reinvest it in order to, of course, overcome the conditions of the time. We did have the COVID-19 recovery period. We did have inflation coming in as well due to the Russia-Ukrainian war. So to kind of prevent what could be bankruptcy if these banks were actually giving out their profit, the Bank of Uganda put a suspension on also the issuance of dividends to shareholders. But because of the company's good policy, Stanbic Bank was able to still give over 100 billion out as dividends for the year 2020-2021 last year. Away from Stanbic Bank, Uganda, regarding the performance of course, the biggest movers, MTN Uganda was the third biggest mover, the only telecommunications company currently listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange. The company traded over about 17,354 shares From Uganda, getting to Nairobi Stock Exchange. Of course, this is the biggest and most traded on stock on the East African capital markets. And when you look at their current listings, they have over about 65 listings, both cross listings and domestic listings. Now, 44 Nairobi Securities Exchange companies participated in trading on the last week. And they had 13 gainers and over 22 losers on the market. Kenya Orchards led the gainers with over 9.62% share price appreciation, closing at 11.40 Kenyan shillings per share. And they were followed by Liberty Kenya Holdings at over about 9.52%. That was also accrued on the company. Longhorn Publishers gained about 9%, and Ever Ready East Africa gained a total value of over 5.8%. On the losing side, East African Portland Cement Company lost most on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with over 7.47%. That was shared off from the company there. And now looking at the NSE market indices, the benchmark index, the all-share index, dropped off over 0.75 points. Well, currently the Nairobi Stock Exchange seems to be sliding a little bit in terms of, first of all, the trading volumes, but also in terms of the performance of the companies here. For example, just on Friday, the data showed a 4% decline in the volume and an 11% decline in the turnover. There's been a little bit of decline in performance there because of those factors that I mentioned earlier in other shows. I say that the companies, or rather the people that are investing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, almost over 55% are foreign investors. And whenever something happens in the market and they have to move out, they go with a lot of value because they sell at low prices, and you find that prices are falling off from the sky. And that, of course, is not good for the listings, and neither is it good for the local investors there. The NSE 20, which is another index there on Nairobi Stock Exchange, also lost about 0.59%, and the NSE 25 lost over 0.44%. Now, my friend, regarding the performance of the other stock exchanges in Africa, just of course to hit on a few, Ghana Stock Exchange had nothing lost on their all-share index. And when you look at Johannesburg Stock Exchange, it added a total value of over 759 points to their all-share index. Regarding, of course, this index, there has been great performance from Johannesburg, very outstanding performance. And if you're a trader interested in foreign stocks, you must definitely check out the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Could be some value there that they have for you to gain. When you look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, they also added some bit of value, and the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, on the other hand, lost some value on their stock exchange. That's the trading from the African stock exchanges. And now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to go to the biggest markets in the world at, of course, the United States Stock Exchange. When you look at the last day of trading, there was a little bit of mix-up here and there with some people gaining and some people losing on the US stocks. Now, but generally during the day's trading, the US stocks wavered, trading amid key earnings reports from the financial heavyweights. The S&P 500 was down by 0.3%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average added over 0.1%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite declined roughly by 0.3%. Now, the yield on the benchmark 10-year US Treasury ticked up slightly to about 3.47%, and the dollar index ticked up 0.21% to 102.21 US dollars. And that's, of course, the story of the US stocks there. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching Smart 24 TV and for particularly sparing time for financial markets. Remember to catch the latest on all your business updates in Uganda, in the region, as well as in the global business outlook at Smart 24 TV, where we do drive your business. My name is Anthony. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.